Hey guys, Musa from Aussie Four Wheelers again. I come for a bit of a stroll with Jason. He's getting his bar done at Easy 10's Performance Workshop, so we've just come to see the progress of his rear bar on his Jeep Grand Cherokee. So for a bit of a visit, yeah, it's a night trip, but just see what's happening. Hey Mark, stop!
Hey,
How you going?
how you going, mate?
Alright mate, take the earmuffs off. We come here to disturb you a little bit,
Ah,
just to see how you're going, what's the progress. Still
well,
cutting and grinding.
still working away,
Yeah.
but lots of progress.
Here is Mark, our fabricator, does all the work for us and our crew here. And he's the one that's come up with this design of this rear bar for Jason. Can you tell us from your perspective on how
Yeah,
you
sure.
come up with this, and was it easy, was it hard?
Well, at the beginning, Jason come to us and wanted to upgrade the rear bar, basically from the basic original plastic that was getting damaged and scratched every time you go off road, to step it up to something that's going to handle a bit of a beating, and you know, if stuff hits it, rocks hit it and stuff, it's not going to damage the car, it's going to protect. It's all made out of 3mm mild steel. It's all going to be braced in around the edges, all kind of beading around here. Underneath, all this section here is going to be all supported, and that bolts into the right at the back section. So it's going to be as strong as a house once it's all done.
So did you originally come up with this? How did you work out these?
Well, that kind of came from the shape of the body. When you make something like this, if you go away from the shape of the body too far, it starts to look odd or bulky, and it doesn't suit the design of the car. Then we got some inspiration from the front bar, especially with these angle panels here and how it kind of all fits together. You know, you don't want to have your front bar looking totally different to the rear bar, because it's going to look kind of odd, especially with these big bulky sections. We had to trim away some of the body inside here, but it's none of the structural parts, so it's safe, it's fine. And we've plated all that back up nice and strong, so this here would normally stick out a lot further, but we've trimmed it back in to kind of try and keep in with the light area there. Again, it's all got to do with that that area behind the rear wheel and up through this back section for your exit angles, and you know, any rocks that come up underneath. If the rear bar is still hanging right down here like this, you'll only get up to a rock of this side, it'll lift that back wheel off the ground and you'll lose traction, and you know, you're going to have trouble. But now when this is all gone and this is all finished, there's going to be plenty of room there.
How about the recovery points? Did you guys talk about recovery points? You're going to have anything at the back there or here? What were you thinking of
Well,
doing?
what we kind of came up with, originally we kind of wanted to have recovery points on this section here, which is the strong part of the bar, the strongest part of the bar. But what we're going to do is we're going to make some other strong parts up underneath here that go back to the chassis rail, and we're going to put these big sections here and here on both sides, and that's going to be for the recovery points.
What else do you have left to do on this bar?
Okay, on this, basically now we're going to do a lot more welding. As you can see, it's only all tacked together. But in the beginning, we've still got to do little pieces around the edges here. We've got to put little filler panels inside of here, all the way around there, just to strengthen it all up. When you have a little edge like that over a panel of a big area, it just brings the strength back into it. So we're going to do all that all around the edges.
Is there anything going to be underneath as well?
Underneath, there's going to be a brace that goes across, and it's going to be a starting point to hang where the mud flaps are going to go from. And same on the other side. Inside the back under here, there's going to be a few strips there, just to kind of help support. Underneath the door. What it's going to be for is for if you stand behind the vehicle and look in, you'll see this big gap through that back door, and you'll see the body. But if we put a small filler piece in here, and it goes across when the door's shut, you look inside, it looks fine. It's all uniform, and it all fits in.
And
fine.
also here under the light, the edges.
Yeah, all here's going to have a tapered piece to suit the shape of the door, and a little lip on the inside there as well. What we have to do is all of this cutting, 90% of it is done with the plasma, and then the rest is done with angle grinder by hand, because all of these angles are all custom to suit each other. we're going to have to fully weld all of this inside and out with the MIG, just because on the outside what's going to happen is when we linish it all down and grind it all down nice and flush and clean, it's going to take a lot of the strength out of it, so we're going to have to weld from the inside as well, just for that strength, so nothing cracks and breaks.
And here is Jason. G'day. This is his Grand Cherokee WH, as it's called here, and WK in the US. He's getting his car done here at this performance shop with the rebar. Jason, what made you go this way? And
well, I was getting the rear bar, mate, because I kept coming off ledges too hard. I kept smacking the rear arse of the car, and being the bad driver that I am, I was pretty much damaging it, so I didn't think it'd last too much longer. So pretty much the whole point was to get something that gave me better departure angles and a bit more strength in the rear. The stock one, the plastic bumper came out probably about another 6 inches. It actually hung down at the bottom of the rails. And you know, the bottom corner was quite a chunky plastic thing, so it was pretty flimsy. I had scratched it up and dented and broken it quite a bit already. But the whole purpose of this was for better departure angles, better clearance, and a lot more strength in the back. And it's looking amazing. So yeah, Mark here's followed the body lines to make it look like it's meant to, like it should. So it follows the flares, and a lot of the angles in here on the rear, it's to obviously to match it in with the front bar.
so Jason, we're under the car now, and you wanted to show us what you're doing under the car.
So the factory obviously has these slide rails underneath the car. Structurally, they actually serve no real purpose other than, as I said, protection of the rear bar. They're just slide rails.
Rear bumper, you mean?
Yeah, same thing. Tomato.
In Australia, we call the rear bumper the plastic part and the rear bar the metal part.
Yeah.
In America, they just call it all bumper.
So the slide rails are, we're going to be cutting them off. As I said, they're there for protection as a slide rail, but now that I'm getting the custom rear bar, they're really going to serve no purpose. This is going to have all the support and structure we need anyway. So we're going to be removing all this. It's going to look a hell of a lot better. Obviously this will go. This is the heat shield, because usually the spare tyre sits up in here and the exhaust obviously running this side. The only thing that's going to remain is the panhard bracket over here. That's obviously going to remain there, and then we're obviously going to run a bit of a weld around the housing here, a little bit extra strength and support there as well.
What happens to the spare tyre?
I don't run a spare tyre. I've got a tyre repair kit, and fingers crossed, I never need to use it.
Are you eventually thinking of putting a wheel carrier?
Yeah, look, Mark and I have discussed that, and there are options here. We can probably one day what we'll do is run a spare wheel carrier off the bar here. So we can put the hinge here and the bracket here. We'll just basically the whole thing will suit the shape of the bar that we're putting on, or the bumper, or whatever you guys want to call it. And then yeah, the tyre would obviously sit up there like a normal wheel carrier. So that's something that down the track I can add on.
What were you thinking about mud flaps having these curves going in like the way they are? How are you thinking of putting these mud flaps
Yeah,
on?
Mark's going to customise that for us as well. So what he's going to do is probably weld up some type of bracket here, hidden behind the rear bumper here. Probably just a wing nut. Take it off. We'll be able to remove those mud flaps when I go off road, so I don't tear them off.
Another thing, Jason, I forgot to ask you, and I noticed that the exhaust pipe is now going to be hanging way below the rear bar and that level. At the moment, these rails protect it from getting squashed against rocks. So once you cut these rails off, what's going to happen to the exhaust pipe?
Yeah, no, good question. So the plan is I've got a 3-inch straight through exhaust, custom stainless steel one sitting up in Queensland at a friend's place, and the plan is obviously to run that through, and obviously that one is actually designed to sit a whole lot closer to the body of the car, because he actually had a rebar on it himself. So that one's a little bit shorter, and it'll be a little bit closer to the body, so it will be protected by the new bar. It's not going to be hanging, that's hanging about 8 inches below the body at the moment. But for now, we'll probably have to cut this off or something until we get to Queensland, and we'll fix that other one up in there as well. So it's going to sound a hell of a lot better and look a lot better as well.
Mark, as Jason said underneath here, he's going to do some work getting rid of these rails. Now, looking at it from your perspective as a fabricator, how are you going to do it exactly, show us?
Well, to start with, this one here basically does nothing. All it acts as a slider. It's bolted up underneath the chassis rails here. Other than that, there's not a real lot that it's going to be really doing, so it's kind of wasted. So we're going to trim it all off up really high. We're going to leave all the bolted sections and trim it all up around the strength parts and get rid of that piece. This cover does nothing anymore. No spare wheel goes here anymore. Then over on this side,
This is a tricky one, isn't it?
this one's a little bit tricky because it's got the your panhard rod, and up inside here it's a little bit hard to see now, but it's all welded on in a few spots. But again, this track bar is all held in place by all of this, and all your weight is sideways. So this being welded here going back here again does nothing.
Does nothing.
So again, we're going to trim it all off, all up nice and high, and get rid of it all. So then this angle here to your rear wheels for departure is going to be much better.
And also if he encounters some rocky steps as he comes off the step with his wheels,
It's not going to
he
get
won't hit
the
straight
wheels
away
off the
here.
ground. Once the wheels are off the ground, there's
That's
no
right.
traction. It's
It's
kind of,
got heaps more
but there's going to be
clearance
lots more. And then if it does come off and hit something, that's going to hit, and well, that's as strong as it gets there.
All right, thank you very much, Mark,
No
for
worries.
this, and we'll wait till it's finished, and then we'll do probably
Yeah.
another vlog when
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
finished.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you like this bar, and keep an eye out for the next part when we do the finish. Might be just a short video just to show you the finished product after Jason comes and picks it up from Mark in the future. Thank you.